Hey everyone, I'm Mike from theparkprodigy.com, and on today's video we're going to break down the ultimate comparison between the Walt Disney World Dolphin, Swan, and the Swan Reserve. And if you've been watching our channel, we did a video originally way back when on the comparison between the Disney World Dolphin and the Swan. However, things have changed and we do have a brand new hotel in the Swan Reserve, so we needed to revamp this video. And if you are in the process of planning a Disney World trip and you're thinking about staying at any of these hotels, just stick around till the end because we're going to break down essentially everything you should be comparing and looking at to help you make the best decision possible when planning your next Disney trip. I'm very excited, so let's go get started. Thank you all again so much for checking out this video. Like I said, we are about to break down the ultimate comparison between the Walt Disney World Dolphin, Swan, and Swan Reserve. And I personally spend a tremendous amount of time at these hotels. I love every single one of these hotels, and I've stayed at them multiple times, wouldn't even do it justice. I stay at these hotels constantly when I go down to Florida. And I think one of the main reasons and one of the important things to mention right off the bat about these hotels is that they are owned by Marriott. However, they are right in the middle of Walt Disney World. And one of the main reasons why it's so important for us to mention that it's owned by Marriott is a lot of families will use their Marriott points, or they'll even use their credit card points to book these rooms. So, families are getting creative, with how they budget their trips. And if you're getting the room for free, or you can get a night for free, a couple nights for free, right? A lot of families are taking advantage of that. So that's very, very important right off the bat. If you don't know anything about these hotels, that's something to consider right from the start. So let's jump in, and we are going to start with the location. Now, before I break down the location of each three of the individual hotels, I have to say that you will not find a better location for a non-owned Disney hotel on property. They are in my opinion, the best location in all of Walt Disney World, and that is because they are essentially connected to the Walt Disney World Boardwalk, and they are in walking distance to Epcot, and if you're up for it, you're within walking distance to Hollywood Studios. But as you'll see at the end of this video, there's a lot more transportation options than just walking. But they're in an amazing location. Now, from a situation standpoint, from the actual hotels located, like where are they located from each other, the Swan and the Dolphin are really situated in the exact same location. They pretty much stare at each other. You could walk from one to the other, I would say, in less than 60 seconds, or maybe a little bit more, depending on how quick you walk, right? Now, the Swan Reserve is the newest hotel, and it is located a few hundred feet away from the Walt Disney World Dolphin and the Swan. And that is important for a couple of reasons, right? And you'll see the main reason being is that because it will add like an extra 5-minute walk onto your trip home at night. And same thing in the morning, you will have to kind of walk over if you're taking the buses or if you're taking the Disney Skyliner. You do have to cross a street. And I know that makes a difference for some families. Some families really just, if they are going with these options, they want the most convenient possible, especially when you're dealing with young kids and you have strollers and stuff like that. So that's important to mention. The Swan Reserve is located a little bit further away from the parks as the Walt Disney World Dolphin and the Swan. But as you'll see in the image, they're really all kind of located within walking distance to each other. And the other important thing to note is that just based on kind of where the Swan and Dolphin are located within the main two parks, Epcot and Hollywood Studios, we would say that the Walt Disney World Dolphin is probably located closer to Epcot, and the Walt Disney World Swan is probably located closer to Hollywood Studios. Okay, next let's jump over to the rooms. And again, this is another super important part of planning any hotel stay. So we are going to start with the Disney World Swan. And the Disney World Swan room offers either 2 queen beds or 1 king bed. And then the Swan has a lot of 1 king bed and 1 sofa bed room layouts. Now, the biggest difference comes at the Walt Disney World Dolphin, where it is 2 double beds or 1 king bed. And I know from speaking with a lot of families, those double beds are a real deal breaker. And we'll talk about pricing in a bit, but I'm jumping all over the place, but it's just trying to tie it together. Well, when it comes to the pricing of these rooms, majority of the time, the Disney World Dolphin is going to be the cheapest option. And what we've learned is that, yes, it could be the cheapest option, but that might not be the best fit for everyone, specifically if you need those queen beds. If you need those queen beds, you have to go with at least the Walt Disney World Swan, specifically for those basic standard rooms. Now, when we jump over to the Swan Reserve will have 2 queen beds or 1 king bed with a sofa bed. Now, the other really cool thing about the Swan Reserve is that all of the room layouts are essentially like floor to ceiling windows. So that just adds to the ambiance of these hotels. They have really amazing views. And a large amount of the rooms at the Swan Reserve will have theme park views, specifically over at Epcot and, of course, Hollywood Studios. But Epcot really is the main one because a lot of families will try to get those, the firework views at night. All right, breaking down the square footage of the rooms very, very quickly. Over at the Disney World Swan, the rooms are going to be 340 square feet. At the Dolphin, the rooms are going to be 360 square feet. And at the Swan Reserve, the rooms are going to be 330 square feet. I would also say, again, another important thing for a lot of families is like walking distance within the resort, right? And if you go back and you watch our original video, I actually joked around that I was reading online that a lot of families prefer to stay at the Disney World Swan because it's a smaller hotel, and if you stay at the Dolphin, you're going to have a longer walk to your hotel room. And I laughed at the time, but going to Disney World as much as I go, I do understand where a lot of families are coming from, just because, again, when you're dealing with small kids and carriages and luggage and anything like that, you want convenience. And so from a convenience standpoint, I would actually say that the Swan Reserve is the most convenient hotel because it is the smallest hotel. And then going to the Disney World Swan, that would be second. And then the Dolphin is a larger hotel. So from a convenience standpoint, go in that order: Swan Reserve, Swan, Dolphin. Okay, so now moving on to another very, very important topic, and that is dining. So one of the largest differences between the Swan Reserve, or the Dolphin is that they all have different dining options available for guests. But again, it's important for me to note that one of the most amazing things about the locations of these hotels is that realistically, you really have access to, all three of the hotels. So from a dining standpoint, I really don't see much difference between, making a reservation at the Swan, even if you're staying at the Dolphin. I mean, it's a short walk over. It's super, super convenient. Same thing with the Swan Reserve. The other thing that I love about these hotels is that they are connected to the Disney Boardwalk. And that means that you do have access to all of the hotels on the Disney Boardwalk. Not to say you wouldn't have access. Of course, you can make a hotel or dining reservation over at, let's say, Flying Fish at the Disney Boardwalk, even if you're not staying at one of these hotels. But you can walk over to Flying Fish if you're staying at the Dolphin, right? So again, I just think that adds to the convenience aspect that we keep talking about. And you have access to the Disney Boardwalk, to all the restaurants, to the bars, to the shops, everything. I love the location. I love how many restaurants you have within walking distance. But now let's break them down by the different hotels. So we're going to start with the Swan. And the Swan has 5 different kinds of restaurants for guests. So our favorite option is the only character breakfast between these two resorts, called Garden Grove. And during the character breakfast, you can meet your favorite Disney friends like Pluto and Goofy and dine on an a la carte menu or enjoy from the breakfast buffet. Other restaurants include the Splash Grill and Deli, the Java Bar, which is pastries and coffee, Kimonos, which is a Japanese sushi bar, and then my personal favorite, Il Molino New York Trattoria. You can probably guess why. Okay, moving over to the Disney World Dolphin Resort. And while the Swan does have the character breakfast, the Dolphin has more choices to eat from, again, just because it's a larger hotel, offering 7 different types of restaurants. And one of the big favorites over here is the award-winning Todd English Blue Zoo. So the restaurants over at the Walt Disney World Dolphin are going to be the Lobby Lounge, which me and my friends love, the Cabana Bar and Beach Club, Fresh Mediterranean Market, the Fountain, which is a 50s diner with American food, Peekaboo, which is a buffet service and cafeteria, Shula's Steakhouse, like we said, Todd English Blue Zoo, and then there is a brand new restaurant that everyone is making a big fuss about. And I was just down in Walt Disney World. I was actually staying at the Swan, but while we were hanging out at the pool, we were hanging out talking, and we ran into like 3 different families, couples. All 3 of them told me they were going to Rosa Mexicana over at the Walt Disney World Dolphin. And I was familiar with this restaurant because they do have a location in Manhattan. So, we looked it up, and it is brand new at the Dolphin. From what I've heard, I've heard mixed reviews. Some folks have said that the food is very, very salty. Some folks absolutely love the food. I have to go and try it for myself. But that is another dining option over at the Disney World Dolphin. Okay, so moving over to the Swan Reserve, and we do have 4 different restaurant options over at the Swan Reserve. So we are going to start with Stir, which is the lobby lounge with cocktails and light bites. Then we go to the ground, which is grab-and-go coffee, sandwiches, and more. We have Tangerine, which is really the poolside bar. And then we have Amari, which is the Mediterranean cuisine. Now, I will say, and I don't want to stay on food too much, even though I can, what I really love about these hotels is a lot of the hotels will accommodate you if you want to just call in your order and take it back up to the room. So what me and my friends did on our last trip is we had a 2-bedroom suite essentially, and some of us wanted to eat at Shula's Steakhouse, some of us wanted to eat at Il Molino. So we would just call up, hey, we need this order. We'll go pick it up, and essentially everyone got what they wanted, and then we would just bring all the food back to the room, and everyone was able to eat together. I thought that was really cool because everyone, again, we were ordering from all these different restaurants, and then everyone got what they want, and you don't have to split up as a group, and everyone continued to stay on vacation together, which I really, really enjoyed. So that's another really cool thing about the dining options at these hotels. So we're going to jump into another very, very important topic, and that, of course, would be the price. And the really interesting thing about all of these hotels is that the price fluctuations can be crazy. So specifically, we're going to start with this Disney World Dolphin and the Disney World Swan. Typically, rates during the off-season will start around $170 per night for the Dolphin, $220 per night for the Swan. However, I've seen the Dolphin go all the way up to like $600 or $700 per night just for a standard room, which is crazy. And then room prices for the Swan Reserve start at $250 per night. I would say, though, on average, the Swan Reserve is going to be significantly more than that. And again, so we have the Disney World Dolphin starting at $170, then we have the Disney Swan starting at $220, and the Swan Reserve starting at $250. What I did was I went and I looked at a week in September just to see like where pricing was. And essentially pricing, and you could find this pricing on the parkprodigy.com. We actually have a discount just hotel page, which I'll leave a link in our show notes if you want to check out pricing. But for the Disney World Dolphin, pricing was at $278 per night. For the Disney World Swan, pricing was right at like $300 per night. And then the Swan Reserve was at $539 per night. So obviously the Swan Reserve is significantly more. And I would say on average, that's typically where we would see it. I have been able to get rooms at the Disney World Dolphin and the Swan for around $220 majority of the time, which I think is a really, really great deal. But like I said, the Swan Reserve typically will be significantly more than those prices. And the real reason, if you go and you stay at these hotels, the Swan Reserve is brand new, like we've been saying. So the rooms really are like immaculate, and the rooms are very modern and up to date. So that I would say is the biggest difference, but I typically just stay at the Dolphin or the Swan. I don't need the fancy rooms. But if you do want the fancy rooms, go with the Swan Reserve. And the other really important thing for me to note is that there is a nightly resort fee. The last time I stayed there, it was actually $40 per night. It might have gone up to $45, but that is something that you do have to consider and keep in your budget, because you will have a resort fee when you go to these hotels. And again, that's probably the biggest difference between staying at a non-Disney versus a Disney official hotel. Disney official hotels, you're not going to get hit with a resort fee. Okay, and then very, very quickly, there is a parking fee if you do plan to bring a car. Preferred parking is $45 to $50 per day. Standard parking is $25 per day. And then oversized vehicle is $30 per day. I will say that last time I stayed here, I had a car, and I don't think they charged me the $25 per day. I guess it's hit or miss. I'm not sure. Okay, moving over to amenities. So, of course, all of the rooms at any of these hotels will have high-speed wireless internet access. You do have unlimited access to the health club facilities, including 24-hour access to the Dolphin Health Club. You do have complimentary Swan paddle boat rentals, complimentary daily scheduled fitness classes, and, of course, they have resort and pool activities. The really, really cool thing about all of these is that you have access to all of the pools, right? The main pool, the most popular pool, is really going to be over at the Disney World Dolphin. And the Disney World Dolphin does have 2 pools. The Disney Swan has 1, and then the Swan Reserve does have another pool. And again, the vibes of the pools are really, really cool. You're in the middle of Walt Disney World. You're on the Disney Boardwalk. It's just really, really cool vibes. Okay, and then last but not least, transportation. So we briefly touched base on this. Because of the location, you are within walking distance to 2 of the main Disney World parks, which is Disney World Epcot and the Disney Hollywood Studios. However, of course, if you don't want to walk, Disney has plenty of transportation options to take you to and from, all the parks, right? So we're going to start with the water taxis, which are really located in between the Disney World Dolphin and the Swan. So again, it's important because if you're staying at the Swan Reserve, you do have to walk over to the water taxi or take that shuttle bus. So the water taxis will take guests to Disney's Boardwalk, the Disney Hollywood Studios, or Epcot and this is approximately running every 20 to 25 minutes, starting 1 hour before the parks open. Now, buses will also take guests over to Magic Kingdom and Disney's Animal Kingdom Park from all three of these hotels. And again, same thing, they're pretty much running approximately every 20 to 25 minutes. And the other cool thing is you can walk over to the Disney Skyliner as well. So if guests are going to, let's say, Hollywood Studios, you can walk from your hotels over to the Disney Skyliner and take the Skyliner over to Hollywood Studios, or even can hop on the Skyliner and take it over to one of the other Disney resorts that is connected to that Skyliner. That is the ultimate comparison between the Walt Disney World Dolphin, the Disney World Swan, and the Disney World Swan Reserve. I wish I could end this and say which one is the better one, but the truth of the matter is they all are really, really amazing, and they all have a purpose, right? I would say, in a nutshell, if you're trying to save money and you're looking for the cheapest out of the bunch, the Disney World Dolphin is typically going to be the cheapest. If you're looking for middle ground where you want good price, better location, you're going to go with the Disney World Swan. If you're looking for over-the-top hotel rooms, modern, great views, you're going to go with the Swan Reserve. And like I said, from a dining standpoint, you really can't go wrong with any of these. So I think it's a win-win. That is the list, everyone. I hope you found this video helpful. I hope that you are as prepared as possible for your next Disney World vacation. And if you are in the process of planning a Disney World trip, and if you want to check out those prices that we discussed in this video, just be sure to go check out theparkprodigy.com. And if you are looking for some additional help, just be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, as we have a lot more similar videos just like this coming out in the coming weeks. But I think that's all the time we have for today. Thank you again so much for checking out this video, and until next time, I will talk to you soon.